All right, I am alive. And let's see, what are we going to do today? So, we got the legs primed, got the base done, handy dandy wood glue. Just pour it all over it. Take Fresh Step cat litter, sprinkle it on, push it down, figure out where you're going to put your feet, and then color it. Looks like the puke from that novelty, throw it on the ground and have fake puke stuff. So we'll set this guy over here out the way because that's done. And get these pieces of Plague Marine out of the way. And we will get started. So one of the things I like to do with these, because it's easier on these giant bodies, is use Black Templar contrast to shade them. Or you can screw up and not have your freaking thing closed when you go to shake it. That's awesome. Look at that. Fail. Live fail. Hey, Anton. I don't use Black Templar for anything but this. I don't know why that was open. That's horrible. Horrible, horrible. Yeah, that sucks. Oh, well. Spilled paint. So let's grab our black. Throw some on here. And we'll start getting this ready. Now, so yesterday I got this phone call, and this lady was like, "Hey, got a raccoon in my garage. Can you come get it?" And normally I would tell people, "Yeah, I'll bring you a trap and drop it off." And she said, "Nah, we saw it in there last night on the security camera," and drove to the Tractor Supply store. Hey, I'm good, Anton. I'm good. How are you doing over there? You're in France, right, buddy? But she said she drove down to Tractor Supply and picked her up a cage trap combo on sale for $20 and bought a live trap and caught it. So I went over there and picked it up for her, took it out into the woods and let it go. Got a real cool video of that. And went to take her trap back, and her and her husband were telling me that they're, it's an 87-year-old couple. He's 87, she's 85. And he said, "Yeah, we had some stuff we were going to leave to our son, but he passed, so we don't have anybody to leave this to. You seem like a nice enough guy. You do this for free. You want a kiln and a welder." And the guy really gave me a big old giant welding machine. He said he's gonna call me today and have me come over and pick up the hoods and shields, rods, material. He's like, "Yeah, we'll just give it all to you. Just come get it." I was like, "Wow, man, I really appreciate that. I'm gonna learn how to weld now. Just may as well, right?" And so I was sitting there talking to him, and she's like, "Yeah, here, I got a kiln. You can have my kiln." And literally, they said, "Here, just put it in the truck and take it. We ain't got nobody that could use it." And it's weird. It's, I'm very grateful and very thankful, and I'm going to learn how to do pottery because I don't have anything but a lot of time on my hands. So I'm going to learn how to do pottery now that I've been gifted a kiln. It's kind of nice, kind of weird. Appreciate that. Then after I learn how, I'm going to take that kiln and I'm going to go give it to somebody so they can learn how. See if I can spread that knowledge, So want to get a decent base coat here. because this is going to have separate highlights than this. When I start going in, there'll be separate colors for it. Like all of these hoses and little joints, they'll have German gray and probably either Dawnstone or German gray, standard Mechanicus gray, and then Dawnstone. That's the standard black cable, black thing, highlight paint thing. I guess scheme. That's what it is. It's a paint scheme. So it's weird, kind of reinventing the wheel with painting. I'm not good enough to do tutorials on it. Just let people watch what I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of my models, I'm surprised at how good I made some of them look, and then others, I'm like, wow, dude, you could totally do better. You kind of whiffed that, you know. You ever have one of those times where you go to kick a soccer ball and you just miss and your leg goes flying up in the air? That's the feeling I get sometimes when I look at some of my models. Like, the hell was I thinking when I did that? Yeah. And then there's some things that I don't understand why people do. I get that you want to have tentacles be weird and stuff, but I mean, I don't understand why everybody goes, oh, it's all grim dark. And then they put like purple and pink tentacles on there. It's great that you have a contrast, but you know, I'm a big fan of the flesh tones on tentacles. I don't make them the same tone as the heads because the heads are usually, I've seen what happens when people in Bradleys and Strikers that wear helmets all the time, they get this weird tanning pallor to their face. It's weird, man. Spend too much time in a helmet and your face suffers for it. You look sickly. So that's what I go for the heads, because you know, I figure Space Marines, they've probably had their helmet on for a few hundred years and just never taken it off. I know the Death Guard can't take their helmets off because their armor fuses to their bodies, which does make sense. So, Anton, you're watching. Do you paint and play, or do you just paint? There's no one where I live really that plays that I can play with, so I just paint and collect. Tell you a story about this one time in the Army. I was the patrol supervisor, which is like your watch commander or your watch officer in civilian world. We still have a watch commander, but we don't do anything but sit at the MP station and, you know, work on whatever the colonel handed to him on his way out the door and said, fix this while you work all night and I go home, you know. So they just sit there and do their thing. So since I was training some new guys, I had a buddy of mine that's a game warden sneak out to an old children's cemetery way out in the swamp there at Fort Polk. Like, this thing is way out in the middle of nowhere, man. And I think it's actually a historical marker at it too. It's pretty funny. So you go way the hell out there, and it's kind of an interesting place because I think the oldest person buried in that cemetery is 11. And when you go to all of the graves, you know, time has done what it does, but there's still toys, like toys from the 30s and 40s that are still sitting there on these graves of these babies and stuff. And there's one that really, really gets me. It's there's a baby in a box, and then the guy took and had teddy bears sculpted instead of a headstone. So it's like there's a conglomeration of like 6 little teddy bears there. It's just really freaky. So what we would do is we would tell the soldiers that were coming in that since it's a historical site, that they had to do what's called a MIVA check, which basically you just got to drive out and make sure everything's secured, all the locks are locked, all the doors are closed, you know, stuff like that. It's just really ridiculous. Check the checker thing. So we would go out there. We would tell them, you got to do a NEVA check at the beginning of shift, middle shift, and end of shift. And, you know, we'd go out there and tell them, this is what you do, blah, 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 blah. This is where you go. And then we would have the game warden sneak out and make little changes like turn all of the vehicles to face north and flip all of the coins. So all of the coins and pennies and stuff that are on all the graves are all on heads. And you point out stuff like this to the guy, to the soldier. And then from there, man, I got this crap everywhere. That's horrible. I really have a problem with Citadel paint pots because of that. That's why I like these. That's a pain in the ass. They don't always seal and get stuff everywhere. All right. So anyway, what do you play? I saw you had a Death Watch, and you had that Fabius Vial you did was really good, Anton. Really like that. That I might get that guy. I don't collect Emperor's Children, but I might get that model because of how well you did yours. I want to try to get one on that level. I don't play. I just paint, man. I started out with Ultramarines and Orcs, and then went Death Guard, and you know, Death Guard models are weird. They're like every model is so detailed and unique. Each one is its own individual character model, whereas Space Marines, you know, you got every one of them looks just like this. They're just holding their gun differently. And then you get your unique character models for Space Marines, like these guys. But the only time you can get guys like this is in box sets. I don't think you can actually get this Blade Guard outside of a box set. So I got that from the Elite set, and it's kind of like a piece taken out of what was that one recent one with the Necrons and the Primaris? Anyway, whatever the latest box set was, Indominus, that's what it was, the Indominus box set. You know, here's another one, this guy. The Lord of Virulence. This guy you couldn't get unless it was in the, I want to say one of the Rogue Trader boxes or the Necromunda boxes. That's the only place you could get him from until recently. So that's one thing that I don't like about Games Workshop is if you do limited editions, that's cool, but man, forcing us to struggle for that, because my Games Workshop's awesome, but that dude doesn't get models in very often because he's down in the southern part of Dallas. So all the places up in North Dallas get it. All right, let us go to shading. Oh man, I got crap everywhere. So I need this brush. So we'll take this. I want to get it in there and then spread it around. We're going to dry brush most of this here shortly. Get some silver back on there. So I like the way that works. We'll do several different types of silver. I'll start out with lead Belcher as my base because that's a good place. I like to use lead Belcher as my highlight sometimes instead of like the really bright silvers, because it just puts like a dull shine on some stuff. Blades are really weird, man. I have a problem using Rust and some of the effects for some of the Games Workshop stuff. I really like them, but you definitely have to have the less is more attitude with those things. But this will give all of the metal a really gross look, if you will. The legs on my other Chaos Knight are really nice. I kind of did an accident once doing the same thing with the paint pot, really, and spilled this all over my other Knight. And in a fit of rage and, oh my God, what do? I started spreading it around because I couldn't get it back in the pot. Went downstairs, very frustrated, came back upstairs and was like, that worked. Good on you, Nick. Good on you. But yeah, less is more. Spread it around. And then we'll have to sit and let this dry for a day or so. I'm going to try to do my live things for this on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, because that's when I take my grandson to school. And I get some me time in the house by myself. You guys don't want to listen to him scream. Hey, Underdog, what's up, brother? I keep missing your shows, man. I try to wake up, but being old, fat, and lazy doesn't really work out when the guys I like watching are in the UK and Scotland. What we're going to do is we'll get this, and then we'll start playing the who could chase down the most details game. Looking at it in this light will catch it, and then it'll be like, oh man, I missed this whole part of the leg. I have to go through. Doesn't help that I got a brain injury, so I forget. I have short-term memory problems, so I'll forget what I'm doing. And on occasion, I've gone through for my Mortarian's cape, as a matter of fact. I watched a video where a guy used a wet palette to do the purple shading and fade. So I watched his video, got the wet palette out, spent about 15-20 minutes getting my colors set and mixed, and then was looking around wondering what the heck I was supposed to be doing with them. It's all good though. One of those that's the good souvenir from the Army. Everybody's got theirs, but you can't complain about them, man. People that complain about that stuff are, they're just sad. Got to pick it up and drive on. My buddy Chris over in Scotland, man, he's my guy that's teaching me how to get into technology. Because let's face it, I'm sitting there looking at how to do this and asking questions, and he's like, yeah, man, just bring up this menu, that menu, this menu, and that menu. And I'm like, okay, I'll play your silly game. How do I bring up that menu? And then I learned one of the most wonderful things you can learn with computers. That if you press the window button and hit E, it opens up your main menu, and you can actually navigate through that. It's awesome, man. It's fun. I mean, I'm not a computer moron. I know how to use them. It's just I've never done anything other than PowerPoint, Excel, some Word documents here and there, things like that. It was never really a big part of me learning how to do what I had to do in the Army. So I kind of just steered around it and did my own thing. And one other thing I like to do is I try to, when I have these guys that are supposed to be soldiers and warriors, man, I try to get their equipment and their stuff to look, as, I hesitate to say realistic, but that's what we're all going for, right? How things look realistic. I try to get that as realistic as possible with how you would carry a kit, like some of the way that some of the guys are set up. I look at them and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't even just look right. It just looks wrong. So anyway, that's a little pet peeve, One thing I could tell for sure about some of these is the guys have no idea and have never ever shot a gun or carried a gun that designed some of these models. It's just, you know, there's no way that a gun can be held in this way and be effective or useful. That's what I look at. That's kind of the problem I have. By the way, Underdog, your Death Guard guys won for sure. That guy's the what was that guy you competed against? His are pretty good. Don't get me wrong. He's really freaking good. I can't airbrush, so, you know, I have a whole different kind of respect for people that are able to pull that off and make it look good. But, you know, I don't think the Death Guard should be, you know, bright and glowing. I think they should be sickness and misery. Do we say it? They should be grimdark. It's funny. It's a great adjective, well used. So with the contrast paints, you could see goes in really good, gets in everything. And if you're going to shade something this big, yeah, Burnt Aquila painting, that's the guy. I mean, man, that dude's good, but you definitely won that competition, bro. Hands down. That's why I'm stealing your idea, by the way. Your pink colors. That's what I'm going to do all these carapace pieces in. Try to figure out the livery. I got the Chaos Knight Codex in the mail not too long ago, so I'll be able to go through and figure out the lore and which house actually comes from the barbarous area to try to do a full-on Death Guard thing. You guys are still are you still locked down over there in the UK for the most part? I mean, I see you all the time on the TV, but are you allowed to go out and do stuff? I see a buddy of mine in Canada sends me videos of the Canadian police pulling people over to see if they've got like a reason for being out of their house. And it's like, man, you guys are seriously, you know, what's that? V for Vendetta. It's like the Canadians got the fingermen up there, you know. I couldn't live up there. I think that's just because I'm so used to the freedoms here in Texas that, you know, somebody pulling you over and saying, why are you out of your house? It's like, none of your business. I appreciate the fact that you're a cop and you want to keep people safe, but yeah, I don't need to tell you what I'm doing. Weird. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Oh, yeah? Are they going to release all the lockdowns and let everybody out, or are they going to slowly open everything back up? Here in the States, it's weird. We got Texas. We just don't care. We're like, we'll let cancer kill people again. We just stop dealing with COVID. Stop being afraid of it. People still get sick, but it's like the flu out here, man. And another thing that I don't get, you know what? No, can't talk about that. We're not going to get all political and conspiracy theory because, man, I got stories about aliens. I've heard people tell things. Heard people tell ghost stories too. Y'all want to hear a cool ghost story? I'll tell you a cool ghost story. I was in Vilseck, Germany. I was stationed in Vilseck, Germany. And I just come back from a tour in Bosnia, and I was really my first time to actually be running around in Germany. So this guy Campbell introduces me to a couple of people and a couple of German locals. They start teaching me how to speak German. They start hanging out with me, showing me, you know, these are some of the cool pubs and bars to go to. This is where the dives are. This is where the assholes are. Shit like that. Stuff like that. Sorry. profanity. It's my army coming out. Trying to keep it family friendly. So this one guy, Ollie, he says, "Yeah, man, I know where some really cool stuff is." He was kind of like a hippy dippy type of dude. He's like, "Yeah, I know where some cool stuff is. Let's go check out these cemeteries." And there's this town, Schneitach, way up in the Bavarian mountains, right? And up in this little rinky-dink town of like 60 or 70 people, there's the family cemetery, or the road up to the family cemetery, for some beer. I think it's Beck's, or something like that. Some kind of weird German famous beer, one of the big beers. It's their family cemetery. And you go to this cemetery, and there's a mausoleum there that's, that stuff's got like stuff from the Crusades on it, like it's old as dirt, old world stuff. We don't have stuff that old in America. So you go to this mausoleum, and at the back of it, it's open, so you could look in. If you walk down the little back of the cliff, you could look in the gates. There's steel gates, and they're locked, but it's open to see through. Rather, should clarify. And you could see where the coffins are just sitting in the walls. Apparently, they didn't fully bury them, because they still do viewings for the coffins and ceremonies and stuff. It's weird. It's like one of those QAnon things. But the funny thing is he goes, yeah, at night and in the morning, when the temperature drops and changes, this weird fog rolls out of there, because there's a stream that bubbles up out of it, and they built the mausoleum around that stream. So there's this really drastic temperature change. And sure enough, it started getting dark and cooling off, and this ground fog, it looked like out of a fog machine, started pouring out of there. And I was all fascinated, like, wow, that's one of the coolest things I ever seen. And a dude wearing a freaking costume jumps out from behind a coffin and scares the crap out of me and sprays me with a fog machine. These dudes had me going for like over an hour, just watching me marvel at their ability to work special effects, I guess, man. But, well, they had me going. It was awesome. Best ghost story ever. It scared the crap out of me. I have seen weird stuff. Like, I went to New Orleans. I was down on Bourbon Street in one of those rent it for the weekend places. It's got a balcony, so you can look down at all the people running around getting drunk and puking in the street. It's wonderful. And but the place we were staying in was above a house that's on the New Orleans ghost tour thing. So we would be sitting out on the balcony at night, or even in the afternoon, chilling, and some girl or some guy would walk by with a camera, and they'd be broadcasting, or they'd be filming and recording, and they'd have a little script talking about the ghosts, and you can see this ghost here, and this guy's there, and that's reported to be haunted here. And it's like, man, I appreciate the magic of your Hollywood moment, but when you destroy it, when the illusion is destroyed for you, it's destroyed forever. You ain't never getting that back. There's no chance I would ever think that a place that commercialized is haunted for the tourists. Yeah. I watched a Bigfoot thing, Finding Bigfoot, where this guy was shooting off firecrackers, and he's like, yeah, we think Bigfoot would be, curious by fireworks. He'd like to watch them because everybody likes to see them. It's like, man, typical, lack of information logic is you think everything is associated with you. That's why people get messed up out here in Texas. Right now it's flooding, and the river is dumping 314,000 gallons a second through the dam, which is a massive amount of water flowing, right? People think that, oh, I saw this thing on TV where these guys were kayaking in that, whitewater rafting. We could do that. We could whitewater raft. It's easy. We'll get a kayak and a canoe. Lady did it out here, drowned her kids. Drowned herself. Her kids got out, but they had to get what do they call those things? A hovercraft, because the water was flowing too fast through the river, down the river, for the game warden and sheriff boats to hold their position. They couldn't get to the people. They had to go bring a hovercraft in. It's pretty crazy, right? But that's what happens when people think that that's what happens when people don't have a healthy respect for nature, and they act on what they think they know rather than getting actual information and stuff. I think the Army was a big part of that. Composite risk management was everything we did. So it almost makes you paranoid. If you get one of your soldiers gets hurt while you're doing training, ooh, that's kind of a death sentence for an NCO, man. You get people hurt, and, no one wants to do anything with you. No one wants to go anywhere with you. No one wants to depend on you. For sure, no one wants to be around you. You're a magnet for people that feel you need to be supervised. And as weird as it is to say, in the Army, when the big dogs start supervising, that's when everything starts going south. All right. Having spilled half my stuff here, and now I'm going through this big old model being messy. I tried doing what some of you guys do with the details. Man, I don't know if it's my patience that wears out quicker, but I start getting frustrated really quick and have to put everything down before I get angry and get my blood pressure up. But yeah, man, that's retirement. Sit around here, paint things, hoping someone listens to you because you're still relevant. Weird. That lady that gave me the kiln and the guy that gave me the welding machine, they kind of put stuff into perspective, because I start thinking, I start getting to the end of my rope. Am I going to be the same way? Am I just going to try to find someone to give all my expensive stuff to? Yeah. Who wants my Warhammer stuff if I... There's a lot of it. Let's see. Turn this. All right. We'll let that paint dry and bleed through and fade. And now the legs are, that's done, right? When I say done, I mean anything requiring effort. So dry brush that whole thing, get the metal edges and everything back up, get the shading going down the legs. Because when you dry brush it, you'll be able to really notice it here. It'll be super bright here, and it'll slowly, the color will slowly tone as it goes down to the recesses. And one of the things I found on this contrast paint is it also kind of wipes off. So you're wiping away some of the paint, applying some paint, and exposing paint all at the same time. So it's a really nice effect. I'm sure there's a more technical way to do it, but hey, like I said, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it, right? Do what works for you. The last thing I'll do before I shut this down is your wet palettes. Lessons learned, man. I didn't listen, and I put some metallic paints into my wet palette thinking, nah, it'll be all right. And yeah, I ruined the little foam sponge that's underneath there, because the little flakes do get everywhere. You're not going to stop them. It happens. I might get a second wet palette just for metallics. That might be a good idea, because with this thing will change the way you paint, dude. These things are awesome. But that being said, thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate it. And, you know, be safe out there, people. Be cool. Be nice to each other. The world sucks enough as it is. We don't need to be mean. Be cool.